everyone, my name's Naoko, and today I'm here with Senaida Ng, an artist and music technologist from Toronto. How are you doing today, Senaida?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much. We're so excited to learn more about what you're doing. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up playing classical piano, and I started at the age of 4, and I studied at the Royal Conservatory of Music. And throughout high school, I did band. I was part of orchestra for a while. I did a concerto with orchestra. And then I also was the music director for my school's play in my senior year. And now I am a producer, songwriter, and artist. I mainly write and produce my own music, and I also produce for other people. And my genres are sort of like indie pop, electronic, experimental, and I'm sort of experimenting with different genres at the moment. So, yeah.
Wow, that's so exciting. So, you've always been involved in music from a very young age, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and I remember when I was younger, I really loved the piano. I remember when I was young, I wanted to become a classical pianist, and that was my dream. And as like played more and more throughout the years, I started to want to create my own music. I did do a bit of classical composition, and where I really found my own voice and my own creativity was writing pop songs, and so I jumped into that. And now I'm sort of shifting again to more like experimental, like borderless music. So it's kind of all over the place, but it's always been grounded in music, definitely.
That's so cool that you've experimented in all these different types of music. I think it's really, really amazing.
Thanks.
So what drew you to pursue a career in music and particularly a career in music technology?
Yeah, so I've always been pretty interested in technology, I would say. I grew up in a household that was very computer based. My dad worked in IT and he was always around computers. So growing up, I was around a lot of computers and tech, and I thought it was really interesting the way that now you can make music with a computer. Like anybody can make music as long as they have a digital audio workstation and a laptop. And so I think it's really amazing to explore those possibilities. And I really want to help create tools for the next generation of musicians to be able to create their music and make it more accessible and easier for people to just express themselves, because we're all artists and I think everyone has the ability to express themselves and they should be given the right tools to do so, and that's why I want to go into music technology.
Wow, that's so exciting. And I think a lot of times when people think a profession in music, a lot of times they think either a performer or a teacher. So it's really interesting that you're pursuing music technology.
Yeah.
And actually, I read that so you started a software program called Synth. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my Synth is a software plugin for digital audio workstations. And so, for those who don't know what a plugin is, it's basically a sort of software component that you can add into your main digital audio workstation. So, like Logic, Ableton, or Pro Tools. And what you can do is you can connect those applications and it'll usually be like sort of like an add-on. So our plugin uses synoptic technology to read and decode your brain waves and then turn that into a MIDI software instrument. So all those sounds that you hear in your head and that a lot of producers and songwriters often try to recreate using synths takes a lot of technical skill and a lot of knowledge in order to replicate what you're trying to create or what you hear. And even like professional grade sound designers have a bit of trouble replicating those sounds. So what my synth does, it's a tool for the future where people will be able to take their brain computer interfaces. The most popular one right now is like Neuralink. And so people with like Neuralink implants will be able to think of a sound and then the sound will become a synth that you can then play on like a MIDI keyboard and use it to produce your music. So it's like people can really just create music that sounds genuinely like them, and it's literally your personalized sound that nobody else can recreate.
Wow, that is super interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to that coming out. That would definitely be helpful.
Yeah, I think so too.
What inspired you to make a software plugin like that?
So, at the beginning of my NYU career, so in first semester this fall, I was taking a class called Our Friends Electric. And it was an elective class within my major at the Clive Institute. And it was such an interesting class because we were learning about emerging technologies and how they might impact the future. So, some of the things we touched on were like cryptocurrencies, cyborgs, 3D printing, AR, VR, Neuralink, like open BCIs. And so, I started to think about like different applications, and for our final project we had to come up with a business proposal and apply one of the emerging technologies into the art space. And so this was my business proposal, and after the class I was still really interested in the idea, and so I was talking to the professor and he was like, "Oh, you can like take this further and like really build this into a business." And I got really interested in it, and so I've been working on it ever since, and it's just been so incredible because like so many of my friends are like, this is something that we need, and it's very much something that like can be in very high demand in the future. So I think it's going to be really interesting once we start really fleshing it out and testing it.
I think it'll definitely be interesting, especially like during COVID, a lot of things are taking place online. There's probably a lot more development in technology. So that would definitely be a useful tool for a lot of musicians, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
So you actually study currently at NYU in music production. Can you tell us a bit about your studies and what you're doing there?
Yeah, so I am at NYU's Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music. I know it's a mouthful, and it's part of the Tisch School of the Arts. And so our major is in recorded music, which a lot of people often ask me what that means because it's really confusing. Like, even I get confused sometimes. But essentially, we're a contemporary music program that is based in like business. So there are six different streams to our program. There's journalism, songwriting, performer, manager slash business, production, technology, and social good. So, oh, that was seven. And so you usually like go in, and most freshmen and sophomores sort of take the same classes that are like focused around all the areas. And once you get into junior and senior year, you go into more electives, and you pick your electives based on which stream that you pick. So the stream that I'm in is production and technology. And so a lot of the electives I'll be taking in the future, and even some of them now, are surrounding production and technology. But it's a really great program because you get all these different people from different genres who are making different things, and even some people who aren't necessarily like performers or really musicians. We even have like managers and business students who are really focused on the business side. And it's just so interesting to be able to like collaborate and work with these people, and it's so diverse and I love it. It's like it was my number one choice program, so I'm really happy to be here.
Wow, that's really amazing. And I think it's really great that they offer a lot of like interdisciplinary studies. Sometimes musicians kind of tend to just stick to music, but it's really great
Yeah.
that you're in a program that has so many things to
Yeah,
offer.
for sure.
I also saw that related to NYU, you're in like a full slate of activities at NYU. Could you tell us a bit about some of the things that you're involved in?
Yeah, so I before I got into NYU, I was really interested in joining some clubs, and I was looking through their club directory, and I was like, they don't have a club for like women in music or like female empowerment. And I was like, why don't they have a club like that? Because I knew Berkeley College had a women in music club, and so I was like, well, maybe I should just like start my own. And I started reaching out to a few of my friends that I had met like over online over the summer, and I was like, oh, what do you guys think of this club? Like, would you guys join it or like help me like start it? And then everyone was like really excited about it. So I started the club, and it immediately got so much attention because obviously everyone was like, oh, like, yeah, like there are so many musicians at NYU, not just in Clive. Like, we have a whole classical music program at Steinhardt, which is another school within NYU. And even outside of like the art schools, there's so many people who are just interested in music and they just do music outside of their majors. So it was such a great like opportunity to just pull all these people together and have them all in a space where they can meet and connect and collaborate. So the Women in Music Club, which now we're going to be changing to Gender Equality in Music, is a club focused around women and non-binary musicians within NYU who are just looking to perform, collaborate, and connect with other musicians. And so we created this whole network, and we have workshops, performances, showcases, and we just really want to create like this community within NYU. So that's one of the things that I was doing last year, and this year I'm still going to be the president of the club. And then I also work for WNYU, which is the radio station, and I am currently actually the associate music director at WNYU, and I also host a show called Classy and Sassy, which airs every Wednesday at 11:30 to 1 a.m. Eastern time. So it's pretty cool.
Wow, that's really amazing that you're involved in all these activities. And I can definitely understand like the women in music, like it's definitely something that I think is needed for the future. So that's really great that you're involved in that.
Hmm.
So for your Classy and Sassy show, what kind of music do you guys feature on it?
So we play classical contemporary music from the 20th and 21st century, and we mainly focus on underrepresented composers and performers. So composers of color, especially like women, and we try to go for more like experimental, pushing the boundaries kind of stuff. So yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I think it's really definitely something that we could definitely focus more on in music.
Yeah, yeah. And I like honestly, I got the idea from like when I grew up listening and I'm sure you know this too. Like we grew up listening to all these like classical legends like the big like Mozart, Bach, and Beethoven, and like everyone knows them, and obviously they're like the greats, they're the masters, and it's great that we listen to them, but I feel like in terms of programming and like just like moving forward with the genre, everyone's like it's like dying. Like classical is sort of dying, but it's like there's so much rich music that's still there that it shouldn't be fading away. And like there's so many like young composers who are just creating like amazing music, and I think it deserves to be heard, and there should be like a space for them. And even like orchestras and stuff should really like program more contemporary like composers who are alive. So it's definitely not a dead genre, I'd say. It's just that we've been playing the music from the dead composers. So yeah, I'm just trying to bring it back.
Yeah, that's definitely a really great initiative to bring some of the, I guess, composers that are still living to life. I think that would be really great.
Yeah.
So you've had a lot of different experiences in music throughout your music career. Do you have any career highlights or moments that were particularly special to you?
I guess one of the highlights was when I came to New York a few years ago and I played at Carnegie. Of course, that was like just incredible. I did the Elite International Music Competition, and it was just like coming to New York and being able to play on that stage is just such an amazing experience. Like, I highly recommend anyone who is like who wants to do it, because honestly it was a dream for me. And when I was younger I was always like, oh, I want to play at Carnegie, but that's like impossible and I'm never gonna do it. And to have it actually come true is just like amazing. And like if you have a dream, like I just say like go for it. Like you never know what's gonna happen. So yeah, that was one of my highlights. But yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely an incredible achievement and also some great advice for future young musicians. Do you have any major influences or mentors in your music career?
Yeah, so currently I really, really look up to Suzanne Ciani. She is a female synth pioneer. She composed a lot for music for films and also advertisements in the 70s and 80s. And I actually wrote an essay about her for one of my classes. But she is just incredible. She started out as a classical pianist, just like me, and then she started working with Don Buchla, who was a synth pioneer, and he built the Buchla synthesizer. And so it's so interesting to see how she like sort of shifted from classical to electronic, and then she sort of went back to classical, but it was like more influenced by like this new electronic music because at the time like synths were just being invented and like nobody really understood them. And so it's just so incredible to see how she like just sort of flows through these genres very seamlessly, and she creates music that is just so genuine and like deeply rooted in what she believes in. So that's like what I want to do in the future. And she's just such an amazingly like strong woman. Her story is amazing, and like I could talk about her for hours, but she's one of my heroes. So yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of film music, I think before we wrap up, I'm gonna give you a fast five questions. So these are basically like rapid fire style questions. The first one is your favorite movie soundtrack.
Oh, La La Land.
Oh, yeah, that's a really great one.
Yeah.
Second one is instrument that you wish you played.
Cello.
Nice. Third one is your favorite concert you attended.
Ooh. Um, I went to Yuzhou Wang and Christian Urbanski at the TSO. I think it was like 2018, maybe, but it was a while ago. It was like such a magical experience.
Yeah, Yuja is always an incredible performer. All right, fourth question is your favorite artist.
At the moment, probably Carol King. I've been listening to her a lot lately.
Yeah, nice. And fifth one is what's your hidden talent?
I can cook pretty well, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely an important skill to have. And before we end off, do you have any exciting like new projects coming up?
Yeah, so I am releasing an EP on August 13th. It's called Last Night Was the Last Night of My Past Life, and there are already two singles out from it, Maybe I Miss You and Maria, and then the third single, Stay On, is coming out on July 16th, which is also my birthday.
Wow, that's definitely a lot coming up. It's super exciting.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Sinead.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And everyone else, make sure that you stay tuned for Sinead's new EP that's coming out soon.